now, but that's good. Okay, so everyone lock out their front arm. You know how you do a golf swing? You see how someone golfs, they don't bend, they keep their lead straight, okay? Think of this as a piston. This is like a drill. It doesn't move, it's static. A lot of people, you see them do this, it's not that it's incorrect, it's just inefficient when the AED shows up. So I'm not saying it won't save a life by doing hand over hand like that. I just don't prefer it because there's no point to stop compressions when the AED shows up. Because if you go hand over hand, everybody do that, okay? And you pull back the trigger, this is doing all the work. These metacarpals, the fingers, they're flexible. They're not doing anything. You need a locked out post to be doing proper CPR. What's gonna happen is all I need to do is lift my fingers and I can keep going as they put on the pads. I don't need to come off the patient. It's time wasting, right? So if I lock out my elbow, I'm coming over the patient. Other thing is shoulders straight over because we're using leverage. So we wanna be over the patient. We don't wanna be shoving this way. You know what I mean? We wanna be straight over. Okay, now, go ahead. Oh, no. The other thing is, see how I'm hovering on the patient right now? Remember what I was talking about holding those capillaries back and keeping the blood flow restricted? I don't want to see this. I want to see one and then you're here. I want to actually see you come off the patient slightly, about a quarter of an inch. Okay, but what that can also lead to on both is you're going to start bouncing. I don't want to see a full bounce because what happens is, you think of this like a metronome, okay? Over time, you're going to be going deeper and deeper. So you want to keep it really consistent. The other thing you're going to learn with the CPR is you're going to be tired at one point, and probably pretty quick, especially if it's your first time and your adrenaline spikes. All these things are coming into play. So when do we switch CPR roles if we have a second responder? What's the #1 reason we switch? Anybody know? Fatigue. Fatigue, I heard it. It's fatigue. You can change roles whenever you feel like your CPR is degrading. You don't need to stay in the game because the whole goal is for him, it's not you. It's not an ego thing. You're trying to save this man's life. So if you have fresh arms, we're gonna use them. Does that make sense? So at any time. Otherwise, what's another good time to switch almost any time, like when it happens?
When you're 30
Not yet. When you're completed on a cycle would be a good chance, but also when the AED analyzes. Because when the AED analyzes, that's the one time that everyone's off the patient, so why not get fresh blood in there? Make sense? Okay. So again, we're coming over the patient. Nipple line is our marker, sternum, right? Heel of the hand does all the work. Metacarpals don't do anything. Locking out like a golf swing, straight over, and counting. And I don't want to hear mousy counting like 1 and 2 and 3. That doesn't help anyone. I want 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10. The reason being is we're pretty fortunate right now. It's a very quiet day at the beach, but that's not usually what happens. Usually you have family members around that might be frantic. Usually you have beachgoers that want to get involved, but they might not know what to do. You have a second responder who wants to know where you're at in the cycle of the CPR. So you need to communicate pretty loudly to save. Does that make sense? And it can happen at any time, so we don't know what those situations are going to be. So we have to be able to project our voice to get over the distractions, because they're going to be there. That's real life. It's not in an office. It's not in, you know what I mean? It's not like in this contained area where a lot of times CPR is done. It's out in the open. It's out in the public with everybody and their brother there, either trying to help or actually being a distraction. So, does that make sense to you? Do you have any questions?
On the count, it's 1 and?
I do it in my head that way to get the pace. A great thing, I actually forgot my Apple Watch, but what I do is I do the Apple Watch and I see like the pace on it because it gives you like a little timer. I could probably do it on my phone too. And when we do the AED, it will give you a boop, 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 boop. It might be a little slower than I want, so I'll try to adjust it. But so it's, in my mind, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It's basically neutral and back down.